I always wanted to be invited to the White House. The invitation came in the spring of 2010, and it was not a thick ivory piece of stationery with the presidential seal embossed on the top. No, it was an email from First Lady Michelle Obama inviting me to learn about the health epidemic facing American kids today. 1 in 3 American children are at risk of childhood diabetes and other illnesses due to what they eat: candy, soda, fast food, and lack of exercise. First Lady was inviting chefs to come learn about her new initiative called Let's Move. And I thought, I want to go. Of course I want to go. But I'm not a professional chef. I'm a cookbook author and a journalist. But I filled out the forms, big stack of forms. And if I passed White House security, then I was in. And apparently I passed. Hey, it wasn't a done deal. I grew up in the 60s. It was a spectacular, hot, humid June afternoon. There were over 800 chefs on the White House lawn. And then there was First Lady Michelle Obama. And she put a challenge forth to all of us. She said, if each and every one of you goes home and starts a program in your school, in your community, imagine the difference it could make to American school kids. I thought, right on, how cool. I hope these chefs go home and do that. We took our pictures in front of the White House. We walked through the Rose Garden, and then it was over. And I went to the airport and I got on the plane to come home. And a very strange thing happened. It was like one of those cartoons that I remember from when I grew up. So you might remember this little animated angel over here and this creepy little animated devil over here. And I sit down on the plane. The angel says, Kathy, you have to do this. You have to try to do something to make a change. This guy said, leave her alone. She's a journalist. She's not an educator. I've raised 2 daughters. They're both in their mid-20s, and I spent a lot of time volunteering in their classrooms when they were young. I thought, I don't want to go back to school and help raise other people's kids. So I got home. I told my husband, John, all about the day. I told him what Michelle Obama said, and I said, don't worry, I'm not doing it. I'm completely overcommitted. I know. But these voices persisted. Then I remembered that Michelle Obama told us that everyone will say no. They'll tell you there's no money, there's no resources, and our teachers are completely overworked. So I thought, it wouldn't hurt to just call the local elementary school. So I live in South Berwick, Maine, and it's called Central School. And the principal at the time is a woman named Vicki Stewart. She's like a dream of what an elementary school principal should be. Called her up. I'm like, hey, Vicki, do you remember me? Hi, yeah, the girls are great, yeah. Listen, last week was so exciting. I went to the White House, and there's this new initiative called Let's Move. And Michelle Obama said, well, as soon as I said Michelle Obama, Vicki Stewart started excitedly hyperventilating. Told her a little bit more about the program, and then she said, I will do anything to make this happen. Okay, I was screwed. So I said what a lot of people say when they're not sure they want to commit to something. I'm like, let's have a meeting. Let's get some people together. Well, to make a long story short, we had that meeting at the end of August of 2010. And South Berwick, Maine is like a lot of places. People don't always see eye to eye. But there were over a dozen of us sitting at this table, members of the PTO, members of the school board, teachers, talking about our kids. What could we do to help improve their lives and their health? And then Vicki turns to me and she says, Kathy, you could do anything. If you could have anything you want with this project, what would the vision look like? And I thought, aha, this is where I make the vision so big that she says, I'm so sorry, we have no money, we have no resources, and our teachers are completely overworked. So I said, okay, right now in the field behind the school, there's a rundown peewee ball field, and there's a playground. I'd like to see gardens. I'd like to have a fruit orchard. I'd like to grow a hoop house, build one, where the kids could grow so much food that I could come in all year, and we'd have so many vegetables, we would have cooking classes, and you know what? Damn it, it all happened. And it happened so fast. By the end of October of 2010, the hoop house was being built and the orchard was being planted. And most moving to me was the way that the community came out to help. I had been in the school that fall, and I had seen there were some kids that were really seriously overweight. And when I went down to the cafeteria, to the lunchroom, I noticed these little kids were eating a lot of processed food. Central School's pre-K through 3rd grade, that's 4-year-olds through 8-year-olds. Do you know how small 4-year-olds are? I mean, I had forgotten. I would walk through the halls and there'd be these tiny people and I'd be like, hi, does your big sister go here? And they'd say, no, I do. 4-year-olds through 8-year-olds, they are the most enthusiastic group. Well, I got these people together and the whole community came out, gardeners, landscape designers, and one landscape architect in particular, an incredibly talented local guy, landscape architect named Terrence Parker. Terrence redesigned the entire backfield behind the school. So now when you go back there, there's nature walks, there's fields of wildflowers, there's an amphitheater, there's the hoop house, and there's the orchard. They say it takes a village, and it is so true. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, little kids came out. They dug holes for peach trees. They sifted through dirt. They worked so hard. They stretched the plastic over the hoop house, and they made it happen. This past March, each one of the 500 kids planted a seed. Those seeds are in the hoop house right now, growing. Every few days they go out there, they water, and they weed. Some teachers go out there and bring rulers, and they measure the progress of the plants, and they use it as a way of teaching math and science. Other teachers go out there and they have their classes write poetry. The music teacher takes her kids out there on crummy days, and they listen to the sound the rain makes on the thick plastic roof. So this June, all the kids will go out there, and they will harvest all the food that's ready, tender young lettuces, fresh peas, fresh herbs. And the last week of school, we will have an all-school salad bar picnic. The 3rd graders come into the cafeteria with me, and we make 3 different types of homemade salad dressings, and we have this picnic. There's a huge long table with all the food the kids have grown and food that's donated from other communities. So this project's for the kids, but I always have wondered, how am I going to pull back from this? I mean, now that this is going, and it's so successful, I have deadlines. I have articles to write. And about 2 years ago, I got sick, and I wasn't able to work in the school for about 5 or 6 months, and I thought, oh, all this work, and now it's going to die. But the exact opposite thing happened. This project perpetually surprises me, and mostly it happened due to one teacher, the music teacher. Whoops, there she is. Kate Smith, of all people, the most energetic teacher I have ever met, and she recently just won Teacher of the Year for York County. Yay, Kate. So having this project have a life of its own has always been incredibly important to me. Kate got teachers and parents to do mini cooking classes in the classroom. She got a teacher to oversee the hoop house, make sure it was watered and weeded and planted. It's always been such a big goal of mine that this project have a life of its own, and it does. So the secondary education here has been the parents. I mean, we cook real food with 4-year-olds through 8-year-olds. You need help. You need a lot of help. We use real knives, we use food processors, we use blenders. Last year we grew Swiss chard. We made Swiss chard enchiladas. We picked blueberries and peaches from the orchard, and we got local yogurt, and the little kids made fruit smoothies. And we use that as a way of teaching a lesson about locally grown food versus food that's flown in from far away. So the parents come, and they've been incredible. The parents in Southborough come out in the dozens. And there's been this whole secondary education that goes on. And it's interesting, almost at every class, a parent, usually a young mother, will pull me aside. I forgot Evan Mallett. Evan Mallett came in and made black squidding pasta with the kids. I said black squidding pasta, okay? And spinach pasta. We make the kind of food that people tell you no kids will eat. For the past 4 years, every single thing that I've taught at the school has been grown by the kids or donated from local farmers, and it's all focused on fruits and vegetables. So these parents come in and they want to help, and they're fabulous. And almost every time, a young mother will come in and she'll say, "Can I talk to you for a second?" And I say, "Sure," despite the chaos going on. And she's like, "See that little boy over there? That's my son, Sam. Just wanted to let you know, he doesn't eat vegetables. So don't be insulted if he won't try it. Good to know, thanks for letting me know, go back to cooking." An hour or so later, when we're done, that woman will be in the corner wiping away tears. And I'll go up to her and I'll say, "Are you okay?" She'll say, "I don't get it. He will not eat vegetables at home." And I say, "Let me guess, he's your picky eater?" She said, "Yeah, he is." And I say, "Listen, this is what we do to our kids. We put these labels on them, right? The troubled kid has to always be in trouble. The athletic kid has to be the best on every team. And the picky eater?" I looked at her and I said, "Your son, Sam, he planted that seed. He watered it, he weeded it, and then he came out to the hoop house and he harvested it with his class. And now here he is in this cafeteria cooking with his friends. How is he not going to eat it?" I'll be in the grocery store and I'll see some members of the community, families, and the kids will be like, "Hi, Mrs. Gunst." And I go over and I say hi. And they'll reach into the cart, in the supermarket, and they'll pull out a bunch of kale. And they'll say, "Look, Mrs. Gunst, we're buying kale. We're going to make kale chips tonight." And I get chills because I think, oh my God, this is actually working. It reminds me of when my kids were young. They were part of the Just Say No to Drugs campaign. Remember that? They'd come home from school, Mommy, did you know drugs are bad for you?" And I'd say, "Really?" Well, it's my hope that these young kids learn that when they crave something sweet, that they can eat fruit instead of ice cream or cookies or cake. And it's my hope that these young kids learn that when you pull fresh vegetables out of the ground, they are delicious and exciting. The truth, young kids are not going to learn how to pay attention to the food that they put into their mouths if we don't teach them. One of the reasons that I chose an elementary school instead of a junior high or a high school like so many of the other chefs who were at the White House with me on that June afternoon was because I wanted to reach these kids when they were really young and wide open. I mean, I can go into a first grade classroom and I'll hold up a bunch of beets and they'll go, "Ew, gross!" And I'm like, "Really? What if we roasted these beets and all the natural sugars came out and they were so sweet and we ate them that they tasted like candy?" That gives them something to think about. These kids are so wide open, they're excited about eating vegetables. So just a few months ago, I was at a food conference in Chicago, and Sam Cass was talking. He's the executive director of the Let's Move initiative, and he's a nutrition policy advisor to the White House. And he was filling us in on what's going on at the White House with the initiative. And one of the things he told us is that the White House is working with the children's television show Sesame Street. And he turned to this large room of food writers and food editors, and he said, "Who better to educate our young children about healthy eating than Elmo?" And I thought about this, and I'm not sure I agree with him. I actually think you're better, and you, and you. The Central School outdoor classroom is so much more than the sum of its parts. South Berwick is like so many towns. There's this large group of people who really want to make change, but good intentions don't always translate into action. If you want to do this in your community, you need to find a core group of people who will work with you and work from that center out. Because if we don't teach our kids how to cook, and they get to college, and they enter the workforce, and they have no idea how to do this, then haven't we failed as parents and communicators and educators? I often ask myself, why did this project work so well in South Berwick, Maine? I mean, what was the magic at work here? It's kind of a remarkable story. And I think it had something to do with the fact that I am a nationally published author. I write cookbooks, I write for newspapers and magazines, and I definitely think that it helped that Michelle Obama and the White House's name was attached to the project. But you don't have to be a food professional, and you don't have to have the White House's blessing to do a project like this in your community. Find that core group, work from that core out. The message of improving our kids' lives and education and health through food is so powerful. You will be surprised to see how many people want to help. I certainly was. Thank you so much.